from the Joy News Center. This is News at 8.
Welcome to the Primetime News Bulletin here on Joy News on Multi TV. Coming up, President Mahama urges investors to engage in more processing of the country's raw materials rather than exporting them in that state. National Health Insurance Scheme pushes for increasing levies due to mounting claims. United Kingdom scraps plans for controversial visa bond scheme but maintains the visa process will not be relaxed. Foreign Affairs Minister responds to former Majority Leader's criticism of President John Mahama. And Cape Coast constituency MPP members threatening to stop upcoming election of branch executives over eligibility criteria. We also have business, sports, showbiz and international news all coming up. Evan. In our very first story, President John Mahama has asked investors to focus on processing raw materials locally instead of simply exporting them in that state. Speaking at the 5th anniversary celebrations of local cocoa processing firm Cervical Ghana Limited at Tema, he said Ghana is tired of exporting its raw materials and asked investors to look beyond profit margins and help create jobs in the country.
We're tired of just being primary exporters of raw material. We must add more processing and value added. But our target is to create more jobs in our economy for our growing youth population. To achieve this, therefore, we must process more of the natural resources that God has blessed us with locally, and cocoa is one of them.
The company had been in the business of buying and exporting Ghana's cocoa for about 40 years until it constructed a processing plant here in Ghana in 2008. To add value to the beans locally. Cargill's Cocoa and Chocolate Business Unit's leader, Joe Delore, said one of the measures the company has employed to ensure sustainable availability of cocoa beans is supporting cocoa farming families and communities.
The Cargill Cocoa Promise is about making a difference in 3 key areas. 1. Investing in farmer training to increase productivity and yields. 2. Supporting cocoa families and communities with better access to education and healthcare. And 3, preserving cocoa farmers and preparing them for the future. By 2016, we aim to have trained over 20,000 Ghanaian farmers through our farmer field schools to improve their productivity, bean quality and their incomes. With the help and cooperation of Cocoa Board, we will continue to look for opportunities to empower farmers and their communities to take control of their future.
He noted Cargill has, over the 5 years of operation, promoted what he calls the Taste of Ghana across the world through its Good Taste of Ghana initiative. The president said Ghana is aiming at the #1 spot in cocoa production worldwide.
The cocoa sector and the associated industries generate a reliable and significant source of income and revenue for our nation's development. It therefore makes sound economic sense for government to commit consistent policy support towards engendering growth in the cocoa sector to enable it attract investments for production of world-quality cocoa beans and products. While everything will be done to sustain the quality of our cocoa and to maintain our position as the second largest producer of cocoa, I believe we can, with sound management of the industry, move to the #1 spot. This is because our achievements in the cocoa sector and associated industry do not inure only to the credit and profitability of the regions that produce cocoa, but are also of considerable benefit and interest to the global enterprise and our economy.
The ceremony was also used to celebrate community and traditional leaders, as well as the farmers. President Mahama, accompanied by former President John Agyekum Kufuor, during whose presidency the company was constructed, unveiled the Cervical promise and inspected their processing plant. Cervical Ghana currently produces semi-finished products such as cocoa powder and cocoa butter for Nestle, Cadbury and Fan Milk Limited, among others. It also exports to European market. Gifty Andopia, Joy News, Tema Industrial Area.
And staying with the presidency, the Ghana Navy this morning handed over presidential guard duties at the Flagstaff House to the Ghana Air Force. A brief ceremony saw the usual display by the officers. The rotation of guard duties was an initiative of President John Mahama and is an attempt to harmonize security amongst personnel who are stationed at the Flagstaff House. Pupils from the St. Barnabas Anglican Primary School from Osei were guests for this month's ceremony.
So we will be attending for the police.
Vincent Senam Kwagbenu, former executive director of the National Service Scheme, has been assigned responsibility in the Office of the President to coordinate the rationalization and re-registration of government vehicles. He will be working as a presidential aide attached to the Office of the Chief of Staff and would work in close collaboration with the Administrator General of the Presidential Estates Unit. This new assignment, according to a statement from Flagstaff House Communications, follows the completion of his accumulated leave. The rationalization and re-registration of government vehicles was announced in the State of the Nation address by President John Dramani Mahama in February this year. The exercise, which is currently underway, is expected to gather steam this month with assignment of new registration plates to the affected vehicles. Now, the back and forth between former majority leader and one of three wise men appointed by President Mahama to supervise his special projects, Alban Bagbin, seemed to have been raised a notch with the introduction of Foreign Affairs Minister Anna Tete. Anna Tete, in response to the recent criticism, says the former majority leader should focus on the government's priority projects and stop criticizing President John Mahama publicly. According to her, Alban Bagbin would find himself doing something more useful if he puts the zeal with which he is criticizing the president into supervising the projects assigned to him and two others, the so-called three wise men. The Foreign Affairs Minister, who is attending the third Permanent Joint Commission for Cooperation meeting between Ghana and South Africa, in a statement issued on Monday, said, quote, "We can create a more effective way of demanding accountability and dealing with allegations of corruption and mismanagement where they are alleged to have occurred. We would not be expecting the president to be Superman." It comes on the back of fresh comments by Alban Bagbin in reaction to comments made by presidential staffer Stan Dogbe, discounted its claims and describing the former health minister as an enemy within. He said it was shocking that President John Mahama, known for his benign and amiable qualities, would have people like Stan Dogbe following him around.
You can. I'm sure you have read from the social media a response allegedly from Stan Dogbe. I believe will have been from the president himself, because he is the mouthpiece of the president. If such characters as Stan Dogbe are those managing the president, Then our president is naked, very naked. Sandugbe. You all know Sandugbe. He is the one, and he has stated that he's the first person the president sees every morning. And so he is one of those managing the president. Sandugbe has been in the media before, and he worked at Joy FM before. We all know him. You can even see the language he has used against me. In all my statements, I never insulted any single person. His statement in response is a complete insult to me, and they said they have passed a code of conduct for the executive, which was launched recently. But that is somebody straight, very close to the president, coming out and attacking his very senior member in governance. I, who led the president for many years and anchored him and supported him from his constituency to the national to ensure that he becomes president. This is the response from them against me.
Right, so there's been some further development on this particular story, and I have with me Joy FM's Evans Mensah, well, Multimedia's Evans Mensah, because he's also part of Multi-TV as well, and he joins me. And you've been very much a part of this story, because at some point in time, you got to interview Alban Bagbin, and he also had some things to say, you know, about what had gone on or what's going on at the presidency,
specifically
and the corruption, and the corruption and all that. What's the very latest on it? I'm told there's supposed to be some ceasefire.
Right, exactly, and it's timely that you play that clip we just heard, because what we learned today from the party, I'm talking about the National Democratic Congress, is that the General Secretary, the party leadership, they've met in the wake of these comments, and they've asked everybody to cease fire, including Mr. Sandugbe, who is a presidential staffer. Four things mainly the party is saying. One is that as far as they're concerned, all the issues raised by Mr. Alban Bagbin are legitimate. They don't have any qualm at all with any of the concerns he's raised. Secondly...
So he has a case, essentially.
He has a case. And they make the point that he's not the only person who's made this point before. Just that others have chosen to use internal party ranks, and they're trying to use the party structures to resolve it. So it's not new. They know about the concerns. Secondly, they want everybody to cease fire. Thirdly, he mentions that anybody else who had attacked him, that is Mr. Alban Bagbin, in the wake of the comments, including Mrs. Sandugbe, because I asked a very specific question about that, should desist from doing that. And the words he used are monkeys play by sizes. And so...
how does he explain that?
Well,
who's the monkey and who has the big size?
His point, I guess, the point he wanted to make, and he did make that point, that when somebody like Alban Bagbin speaks, who in government has the same status and clout to respond to him? Is it the likes of Sandugbe, who are simply presidential staffers, or who else? So the other point he makes is that the party and the government will have to resolve what he sees as the communication challenges that has cropped up in the wake of this.
Okay, but that's supposed to, well, talking about what Sandugbe may have said, that's presume or presupposes that he spoke on his own authority, and that he wasn't speaking on behalf of the president. Because if he's speaking on behalf of the president, then he rightly said what he said.
That is the impression we got today.
He's a right monkey.
An impression that, again, had been confirmed by the official government spokesperson, the Minister of Information, Mahama Yarega. He also spoke to us, and I asked him the question about what others have said, including the comment that Alban Bagbin had lied in the comments that he made in terms of not seeing the president. That's the question. He says, well, he will not be drawn into whether the man lied or not, but as far as he's concerned, again, he has issues, he has concerns. And the approach they're adopting as government and as a presidency is to sit him down and try to resolve the concerns. Now, the approach, he said, and I asked a very pointed question, will the president, now that one of his subordinates, because remember that Alban Bagbin is still a member of government, he's in charge of executing
the special project.
Exactly. Will the president let him go? Because obviously speaking against the president, and he has something, the relationship problem there. He says no, the president had called him today. Mahama Ayariga had called him. he's pretty sure the president is going to meet him, sit him down, and resolve all his concerns, particularly that of not having access to the president. So that will be resolved as far as the official mouthpiece of government is concerned. That obviously contrasts what we heard from Standogbe, which was condemning what he had said and calling him a liar, etc. So that is what is coming out of government and the party. They're taking this pretty seriously. They're meeting. A committee has been set up, I'm told, to try and resolve this as soon as possible.
Right. Thank you very much. That was Evans Mensah bringing us the very latest on this particular story, the back and forth. But elsewhere, some members of the Cape Coast constituency branch of the New Patriotic Party are threatening to go to court to stop the upcoming election of polling station executives if the party does not review the criteria for eligible candidates. They complain it is too stringent and will lead to the disqualification of a lot of the party's supporters interested in contesting.
Communications Officer of the branch, Jafaru Seidu, says the party's requirement that qualified candidates should be card-bearing members for at least 2 years with good standing is a hindrance to many competent and qualified candidates, as many of the grassroots members do not have identification cards. He cautioned the national executive not to dictate to the grassroots on what to do, as those in the constituencies know the NPP sympathizers better than whatever cards they hold.
And they cannot stay in Accra and issue instructions which will be detrimental to us. Those very people who are being disqualified because of this, the use of this ID card, they are the same people that will be calling upon to go and campaign, to go and vote. And so if you disqualify them today, you cannot go to them 2016 asking them to go and work, to go and vote. This is our issue. So we are calling on the executives national once again to, as a matter of urgency, issue a statement on this card issue. Otherwise, we will advise ourselves by the close of the day tomorrow.
Jafaru alleged there were some with vested interest in the elections going around organizing party cards for people so they could vote for them and disenfranchise the true members, but who do not have ID cards.
The constituency secretary, he is refusing to sign the forms, and then because of this issue of the membership card before you qualify, this one is something that is coming from the national executives. And of course, we heard it straight away from Perry Okujato, who is now the acting communications director. And so we are calling on the national executive to, as a matter of urgency, issue a statement on this membership card, because I believe by now many of them do not, even at the national level, do not have it.
He said he and his colleagues will take action by Tuesday if the party does not drop its demands. The Cape Coast Communications Officer stressed that there should be no last-minute changes to the party's constitution and that all in the party should qualify to contest until the Congress amends the constitution. Georgina Pierce report.
In other news, the British government has abandoned plans to make visitors from high-risk countries, including Ghana, pay a £3,000 sterling bond before they are allowed into the UK. British High Commissioner to Ghana, Peter Jones, told journalists at a meeting in Accra the decision to scrap the visa bond policy was to further open up the UK to trade and investment. He however reiterated that High Commission will still remain tough on persons who fail to provide the requisite information when applying for a visa.
The issue that we're responding to is the problem of visa abuse. So for a minority of people who perhaps try and apply in the wrong way for a visa with the intention of staying in the UK beyond the expiry of the visa, and that problem does exist, we need to look at options about how we tackle that and how we discourage that kind of behaviour. So this was one option that was being thought about as a response to that. But as I said, you know, it was only ever an option. It was never a decision to proceed. There was a lot of speculation that we'd taken a decision which we had not. And what I'm able to do today is to clarify that, you know, that option is not being proceeded with.
Ghana, Nigeria, India and Pakistan were described as high-risk countries by the British government because residents from those countries have become noted for overstaying in the UK. The UK High Commissioner, however, says the scrapping of the policy should not be misconstrued as a relaxation of their visa requirements.
Well, we look at countries based on the evidence of visa abuse. So, you know, people who don't do the right things, the figures on people who stay there when they shouldn't. Unfortunately, there is an issue still with some Ghanaians. The majority, no problem whatsoever. And of course, we encourage people always to apply for visas and behave in the right way. So, I say again today, as I would always, that there are two things we ask of visa applicants. One is apply in good time, because it takes us some time to process the application, and the other is to provide all the information that we ask for. And if people do that and do that honestly and in the correct way, then hopefully everything will be successful.
The security bond scheme was to be piloted from this month as a way of deterring temporary visitors from staying in the UK beyond the time stated on their visas.
We'll be back with more news. Don't go away. Ghana has finally launched a pilot vaccination program aimed at preventing cervical cancer in women. First Lady Lordina Dramani Mahama, who performed the launch, intimated the pilot phase will focus on only 4 selected districts of the country.
The pilot phase will involve the vaccination of girls in the 4 selected districts against the human papillomavirus, which is the leading cause of female cancer deaths. First Lady Lordina Dramani Mahama indicated Ghana is one of the partners in this private-public partnership, and as a result of this partnership, it has accelerated the uptake of and will continue to introduce new life-saving vaccines, which are one of the most cost-effective health investments in history.
Successes chalked such as zero death of children from measles, eradication of polio, prevention of infant deaths from pneumonia and diarrhea diseases are all successes we cannot see, but have significantly improved our lives and our life expectancy. They might not be magnificent skyscraper, gleaming airports, beautiful interchanges, or the new highways we crave to see, but they are definitely more valuable because they give life, the most prized possession, to our fellow citizens. If this pilot is successful and government working with its partners upscale it nationwide, 1,500 of our women would be saved each year from painful deaths caused by cervical cancer. Those 1,500 women would be our mothers, our sisters, or our daughters.
Gavi Alliance, the major partners in this project, hope that about 90% of girls in the age between 9 to 44 target group will benefit from the exercise. It congratulated Ghana for the introduction of 2 life-saving vaccines simultaneously. This was in April last year, when Ghana became the first country to ever do that, with the introduction of vaccines against the 2 top killers of children under 5, pneumonia and diarrhea, caused by rotavirus. Health Minister Sherry Aite announced nurses and health workers have been trained in the administration of the HPV vaccine and the management of adverse reactions that may occur.
So we will appeal to parents, we will appeal to teachers that you should immediately or contact the Ministry of Health should there be any adverse finding after we have administered the vaccine to the children. The committee will continue to monitor also safety and other adverse effects of the immunization. Your Excellency, one of the key challenges that we have is to strengthen the advocacy of this program. We need to talk about it. We need to use the media. We will appeal to the media to assist us so that we can set up a robust system of telling everybody about this program. Today, we know with greater certainty that investing in our health has the potential of generating positive economic returns, development, and it will also go a long way to help us reduce poverty in the Ga-Dangbe area.
Reports from the Ministry of Health indicates since 2006, HPV vaccines have been introduced in routine immunization programs in over 40 high and upper middle income countries. By 2020, it is expected that over 30 million girls in more than 40 countries will be immunized with the HPV vaccine. With Gavi support, and 500,000 deaths will have been prevented. Etonamse, Joy News.
The University for Development Studies, despite its challenges with infrastructure, says it admitted some 6,339 freshers this year, two-thirds more than the number that gained admission same time last year. Speaking at the 21st matriculation of the university in Wa, Vice-Chancellor Professor Haruna Yakubu says the increase in admissions is in response to government's call to the universities due to the unusually high number of SHS leavers seeking to enter the tertiary institutions this year. Rafiq Salam's report from Wa.
According to the Vice-Chancellor, the university received a total of 19,161 applications for undergraduate programs and 952 for postgraduate programs, but had to reject nearly 13,000 of them. 197 were also admitted into the various graduate programs. The Vice-Chancellor's speech was read on his behalf by the Dean of the School of Medical Health Science, Professor Kwabena Cheyabuaji.
That's the 2014-2015 year. Another stream of WASI graduates will be seeking admission into the various universities. This number, together with those who have not gained admission this year, will be competing for placement in the universities. I wish to make a fervent appeal to government to consider as a matter of priority the provision of infrastructure to UDS to enable a further increase of student intake as the university's contribution towards mopping up the huge number of WASI graduates yearning for admissions into the country's universities.
The university authorities expressed concern about the low numbers of students taking up the sciences compared to those pursuing humanities, arts and business, and called for a comprehensive government policy to reverse the trend.
The time is right for increasing the number of students offering science-based subjects at the undergraduate and the graduate level. A comprehensive government policy aimed at promoting teaching and learning of science in the first and second cycle institutions will be very useful and a very good step forward for a national increase in quality and numbers of science graduates. By this, the rapid growth and development of our country will be ensured.
The matriculants were also advised to use legitimate and rational ways to express their feelings without undue recourse to violence and wanton destruction of public property. They were also advised to stay away from occultism. The dean in charge of the WA campus highlighted their challenges with emphasis on the provision of adequate infrastructure for academic work.
The National Health Insurance Authority, NHIS, is pushing for an increase in the levies that are charged to fund the scheme to help address the financial challenges it is grappling with at the moment. Its Chief Executive, Sylvester Mensah, made the call at the official opening of an international conference in Accra to climax its 10th anniversary celebrations.
The chief executive admitted the scheme is fraught with many challenges, such as claims payment, amongst others, with claims skyrocketing each year. Active members, he says, have jumped from 1.3 million in 2005 to 8.9 million as of 2012, with claims payment also moving from 7.6 million in 2005 to 660 million in 2012.
Funding is being handled by our distinguished Honorable Minister for Health, and this has to do with increase in the NHI levy as an option, review of exemption on NHIL, looking at additional funds from the road fund, looking at levy on tobacco and alcoholic beverages, looking at 20% of communication tax assigned to health insurance, and also looking at levy from the petrochemical industry.
He added the authority would also tackle the issue of blocking leakages in the insurance system, especially with the pharmaceutical pricing and supply chain, which accounts for about 50 to 53% of its claims payment.
We want to have a radical shift from the current overburdened situation of high prices of pharmaceuticals and in some cases fake drugs, which also encourage repeat attendance, which increase utilization and all affect our costs. It's important that we look at it. This conference would give us deeper insights into how other countries are managing pharmaceuticals, and in particular how the national health insurance schemes in those countries collaborate with other health agencies in managing pharmaceuticals.
The conference is to climax the 10th anniversary celebrations of the scheme and to take stock and deliberate over the future of the scheme. It also brought together health representatives from over 100 cities from across the world to dialogue on the sustainability of the National Health Insurance Scheme and also the way forward in achieving universal health coverage.
Hello there, welcome to Joy Business. I'm Abigail Adumakoenchi. Now, government has decided to adopt a program-based budgeting procedure for the preparation of the 2014 to 2016 budget away from the activity-based budgeting it is using currently. The system, which comes at a cost of $1.7 billion, is to ensure better resource allocation in the budget and improve efficiency in public expenditure.
Officials of the Budget Division of the Ministry of Finance briefing parliamentarians on the new initiative insisted that there was the need to shift from preparing the national budget on the basis of individual activities, which they say was overly detailed and made the preparation very cumbersome. They contend activity-based budgeting has an excessively centralized control over its implementation and hence lacks performance focus.
If you have a program and you are monitoring the program and you are not monitoring just the activities of the program, that by the results that the programs are expected to deliver, then you will have a more focused monitoring system that looks at the expected results, whether we are making progress towards them and what the obstacles are.
For the preparation of the 2014 to 2016 budgets, a budgeting system based on programs with the accompanied performance indicators is to be used as it is decentralized and results-oriented. But some parliamentarians had their own opinions about the switch.
You are moving from activity to programs. Instead of looking at activities, you want to see outcomes. Crime management, reducing crime management. So all the activities that are connected should be funded properly. And if it's cross-cutting, the sector ministers must meet to make sure that they give the resources. Nothing here tells me that all our problems are going to be solved. So we should not believe that. We are just changing, moving from first gear to another first gear.
If we are going to give ministers more discretion in the release of funds and even to amend their programs for the year, isn't that going to provide more room for chop, corruption, create loot and share?
A road project that lasts for 4 years. Under this project budget, they are not going to look at the activities. They wait till the road is finished. So how is Parliament then going to measure the activity if it's not part of the program-based budget? Mr. Speaker, I hope this is not an avenue that is being developed by technocrats to outsmart politicians.
Finance Minister Setekwe, however, maintained the new budget system was part of the public financial management reforms by government and will ensure transparency and accountability in public spending.
Let me just assure members that within every program there are activities, and therefore the activities can continue to be monitored. The oversight of Parliament will always be there. All that we are saying is that resources will now be allocated to conform with programs within which there are activities which can be monitored.
The program-based budget system is to be rolled out in ministries, departments and agencies by 2016.
Well, away from Parliament, we move to the top of the mountains where some business have been happening. Well, in spite of the popularity of Mount Abajato, its potential for business remains largely untapped. Nia Kofi Smatabe, who returned from expedition there over the weekend, reports there's not much to show by way of commercial activities which could earn the local assemblyman and community members some tourist dollars.
Abajato lies in the quiet town of Liativote in the Volta region. Though quiet, it regularly receives tourists who come to scale the mountain. Midway through the ascent, you'd come across this rest stop sign. but it's only there to give false hope. Community leaders tell me they are yet to put up the structure, something they hope to do from the tourism revenue they raise. The summit is equally bare and uninteresting apart from the view. At best, you'd get a photographer such as Selom to capture the moment for you.
The business is booming because when people come, they have the feelings to take pictures along, physical pictures to prove to friends that they were really on Mountain Afajatu. So when they come, they take instant pictures because most of the times when they bring along cameramen, after going back in order to print pictures, some cards can corrupt. Yeah. So they really want to take instant pictures so that when they go, they know that they really come to Mountain Afajatu.
The panting adventurers cannot even expect to get water at the summit to quench their thirst or a comfortable perch to catch their breath, except for these rocks. And if you're seeking some place to pass the night in the town of Liativote, don't raise your hopes too high, because all the town has to offer is a simple guest house, nothing fancy. There's, however, no doubt that there is a lot that can be done to make a Mount Afajatu expedition a lot more interesting. The community leaders acknowledge this, but believe it could start with their road being fixed. But that may just involve one long wait, or maybe not. Nia Krofis Matabe, Joy News.
Well, we have a lot to do about our tourist sites to reap more benefits. Now, away from that, shares in struggling smartphone maker BlackBerry have fallen 13% after it announced it had abandoned a plan to sell itself to its biggest shareholder, Fairfax Financial Holdings. Instead, it intends to raise $1 billion in fresh financing. Chief Executive Thomson Haynes will step down, and former Sybase Chief Executive John Chen will serve as interim chief executive. Last month, BlackBerry reported a second quarter net loss of $965 million. And now we all by way of business. I'm Abigail Adumakunchi.
Joy News Business was brought to you in association.
Time to check out news making rounds in the world of sports. And Black Stars coach Kwesi Appiah has named Kevin Prince Boateng in a 24-month squad to face Egypt in this month's World Cup qualifying playoff. Coach Appiah kept up with his reputation of surprise call-ups as he excluded goalkeeper Richard Kinson and included Dominic Dia and goalkeeper Daniel Niaje, who are all making returns to the Stars.
Coach Kwesi Appiah has named Kevin Prince Boateng in a 24-month squad to face Egypt in this month's World Cup playoff qualifier. Also included in the squad are Dominic Dia and goalkeeper Daniel Niaje, as both players return to the Black Stars team to play the Pharaohs in Cairo on 19th November at the Air Defence Stadium. The Black Stars lead the tie 6-1 after the first leg in Kumasi on 15th October. The full squad includes Fatal Dauda, Adam Lassen Korase and Daniel Niaje for goalkeepers. For defenders, Harrison Affle, Samuel Inkum, Daniel Opari, David Adi, Jerry Akamenko, Rashid Samaila, Mohamed Awal, and Edwin Jima. For midfielders, Michael Asian, Suleiman Tari, Kwadwo Samoa, Emmanuel Ajiman Bedu, Albert Aduma, Mubarak Wakasu, and Christian Achu, as well as Andrew Yu, have been called up. For strikers, Samoa Jan, Abdul Majid Waris, Kevin Prince Boateng, Jordan Yu, and Dominic Adia make the shortlist.
All right, so the discussion is out there. You have to make of this what you really will. Let's now talk about women's soccer, and head coach of the national under-17 female team, Evan Sadote, says he's confident of the maidens' qualification to the World Cup. 2 second-half goals was enough to ensure the maidens got an edge over the Equatorial Guinean counterparts at the Crossport Stadium of the weekend. A draw in the second leg will be enough to see the Black maidens through. And Coach Evan Sadote tells Joy Sports he's very confident this will happen.
Came here to concede 2 goals. The same thing, we can also go there and then score, or maybe defend our 2 goals. They are now under pressure. I'm not under pressure. I have scored 2. So it's a matter of mapping a game strategy to defend my 2 goals, or even to score them at their backyard. So I want to carry a message to them that I'm also coming there to qualify my team to the World Cup.
Now, some members of the Ghana Supporters Union believe the media is causing unnecessary fear and panic among the football fraternity over the volatile situation in Egypt. FIFA ruled that the second leg final qualifier against Egypt be played in Cairo, despite a request from the Ghana Football Association to have the game moved to a neutral venue. Various Ghanaian supporters unions, however, are willing to travel to Cairo with security assurances, but insist the media should cease overblowing the situation in Egypt. Shaibu Abbas Guntu is an executive of the Ghana Supporters Union.
it is very good because for the first time in the history of Mother Ghana, black maidens are playing match, and you can see the crowd that came from the supporters. That shows you something. Now all the supporters are under control. We don't allow anybody to do whatever he has been doing. You come under control. We ask you to sit down, you sit. We ask you to rise, you rise. That's what we are doing now. In our last meeting, we've taken a decision that Black Stars will not go alone. Black Stars will go with support. We, the supporters, we started preparing towards visa. Visa, we cannot force the government to come to our aid. But now, I think after the visa, we will go to the government. If the government refuses to help us, I think we can advise ourselves by going. But before going, we are going to seek advice from the government again, whether the condition is good for us to leave. If the condition is not good, I think we advise ourselves, we stay at home, then we keep praying for them.
Well, so that debate is particularly on, and the Ministry of Sports actually hoping to have a meeting with FIFA to get some more assurances ahead of the game. We'll be bringing you up to speed with everything that happens, but in the meantime, we'll be all for sports tonight. My name is George Adejuna. Israel will join us with some more news.
Sports was brought to you in association with.
A few months after launching her beauty salon, actress Martha Nkuma says she has dreams of establishing a Christian TV station. She's hoping to employ at least 50 people by age 35.
You may call it a pipe dream, but the sexy actress, when she appeared on the white carpet over the weekend, didn't come across as someone who was kidding.
You want to build a studio?
Yeah.
What kind of studio? A TV studio. A TV and turn it into a Christian TV station.
Yeah.
Turn it into a Christian TV station.
I should be your first time.
I want, at the age of 35, I'm very young now, by the age of 35, I want to employ, like, let's say 50 people.
How many years
want to be going for board meetings. I'm very young, so I just have to calculate. I just want to be going for board meetings and all that.
Yeah.
I'll say, okay, next time if you don't work hard, I think we'll sack you, but try and discipline yourself and all that. Yes, I'm working towards it. It's not.
She had other dreams and didn't hesitate to share them, no matter how fanciful.
I want to see myself shooting a movie with Steven Spielberg.
Oh yeah.
I want to see myself being directed by Quentin Tarantino. I'm sure you know him.
I know him.
I want to see myself being directed by Tyler Perry. I really want to work with Tyler Perry.
I love your dream. Big dreams.
Big dreams.
You've got to dream big anyway.
So I mean, I think it's working. I'm sure with time, God will just put me up there.
Meanwhile, she entreats all her fans to watch out for her new movie, A Trip to Hell, being produced by the award-winning director, Leila Jansi.
You remember him for his occult roles in Nigerian movies, but veteran Nollywood actor Charles Okafor says after his close encounter with Christ, it isn't every role he will pick up these days.
My phone in the office, if you don't know, in spite of all your education, it's strictly for business.
After so many years of being lost in movies, Charles told Showbiz that he is still active, but just taking time off to do other personal projects. He said moving forward, he has decided to do more of general acting with no more occult roles. He explained that some of these occult roles sometimes have effect on one's life.
I am a Christian. I have been for years. And so it is only important that my Christianity, if it is sincere, if it is serious, should equally take a toll on some aspects of my vocation. And that is why I cannot do certain kinds of stories anymore. And these things ordinarily shouldn't be a problem for any professional. And I have no problem with them.
Meanwhile, Charles is yet to wrap up on his own produced movie.
What do you mean again? My phone in the office. If you don't know, it's...
That'll be all for Showbiz. Before I go, the quick run through our top stories. President Mahama urges investors to engage more in processing of the country's raw materials rather than exporting them in that raw state. National Health Insurance Scheme pushes for increasing levies due to mounting claims. United Kingdom scraps plans for controversial visa bond scheme but maintains the visa process will not be relaxed. Foreign Affairs Minister responds to former majority leader's criticisms of President John Mahama, but the party's General Secretary calls for a ceasefire. And NDC and Cape Cape Coast constituency MPP members threatening to stop upcoming election of branch executives over eligibility criteria. For more news, log on to myjoyonline.com. My name is Israel Lion.